Welcome back to the news today. Time again for our weekly roundup of Israeli politics. And joining me in the studio are Amir Oren, defense and government analyst for Haaretz Daily. Good evening.
Evening, Ayman.
And our diplomatic correspondent. Join us again for the news today, Eli Hochenberg. Good evening, Eli.
Good evening, Ayman.
Well, Amir, Brazil has rejected the Israeli choice for ambassador to the country. Hard to say this was a surprise.
You can't force a country to accept an ambassador. Now, obviously, the process is that first you nominate someone, whether in the Israeli system you have to give it cabinet approval, or in the American system the Senate has to approve the nomination. So it's not a secret. But then you need what diplomats call agrément, an agreement. You need the host country to accept it. And if you don't do your homework before you submit the name, you may encounter opposition. Now, Danny Dayan is a very articulate person, but he was the chief lobbyist for the settler movement. And some countries make it a point to distinguish between Israel proper and the territories beyond the Green Line. And it is sticking it in their eyes to send someone who is settler number one to serve as Israel's ambassador. And once this opposition emerged, Israel should have quietly said, "You don't want him? Thank you. We'll send Dayan somewhere else. We'll send you someone else, and we shouldn't make a federal case out of it." But Israel insisted and persisted, and now it's been defeated.
Ali, was this the case? Israel just didn't do its homework, or was this really a jab at the Brazilian government?
Well, the senior advisor for foreign affairs of the Brazilian president has explicitly said that this nomination was a mistake and a breach of diplomatic protocols. But because we are talking about the settler leader and there is a political aspect to this nomination or rejection, the things are getting a bit more tangled. And Netanyahu said last week that he has no intention of nominating anyone else, and that means that if this nomination will be rejected, Israel will not have an ambassador in Brazil, and thus the diplomatic relations will be downgraded. Maybe not intentionally, no one, and there was not like a severe dispute, but because of the lack of ambassador, the relations will be downgraded, and that obviously has severe ramifications on the diplomatic relations.
It's a very severe punishment for Brazil. It's like the time when there was fog over the English Channel, and the British said that the continent has been cut. But you know, the joke in the foreign ministry is that Dayan has been rejected because he was born in Argentina. And Brazilians saw that as an affront.
Well, notwithstanding Netanyahu's troubles abroad, he's also facing a new open front with Naftali Bennett, the head of the Jewish Home Party.
Yes, Naftali Bennett, who used to head Netanyahu's own bureau and had to leave in a dispute which probably had to do with Netanyahu's immediate family too. He is now a thorn in Netanyahu's side, his right side, because the settlers are voting for the Jewish home. And Bennett, who was a junior officer in the military, much like Netanyahu was decades earlier, Bennett presents himself as an alternative voice on defense matters. He is a member of the ministerial security cabinet, and he challenges Netanyahu and Defense Minister Ya'alon regarding the defense doctrine. And both Ya'alon and Netanyahu are very angry at him, but are apparently powerless to do anything about it.
Well, Eli, is this a fight for the right wing in Israel?
Well, listen, what happened in the last election is that Netanyahu's Likud party took many seats from the Jewish Home Party, and Bennett is very much aware of this fact, and he wants to regain his position. And this spat we've seen this week that got to very juvenile places. The defense minister calling Bennett childish, and Netanyahu saying he's not a blogger but an internet commentator. It's not an appropriate language to leaders of a country, and it definitely signals a new battle for Netanyahu within his own camp, his right-wing camp. And Bennett simply reads reality and sees that if he wants to take voters from Netanyahu's party, he needs to go more to the right and show a much more persistent and hard stance when it comes to security and diplomatic matters. And this is what he's doing. I don't think we can blame him for, advancing his strategy.
And speaking of a new battle for Netanyahu, Amir Oren.
Yeah, the former chief of staff of the Israeli Defense Forces, Gabi Ashkenazi, has finally emerged from self-imposed exile. He has left the service 5 years ago, but he has decided to remain silent until his judicial file was closed. The investigation against him on some obscure charges, which we won't go into, was finally over because the outgoing Attorney General, Yehuda Weinstein, who leaves office next week, has decided that even though Ashkenazi's behavior was not impeccable, it didn't meet any legal standards for indictment.
Is he likely the next candidate for the premiership?
He is now being courted by several parties outside of Netanyahu's own Likud, some center parties and some left-of-center parties. He has not decided yet whether he wants to go into politics, and if he does, where, and if he does and where, when, because we are 3 years away from the next election, if it is held on time. There's no point for him to announce, yes, I am now in politics, I'm open for shopping. He still has to make up his mind and see, but right now the public opinion polls position him to compete with Yair Lapid, with Yitzhak Herzog, and other opposition leaders as the contender against Netanyahu.
We also have another impending former IDF Chief of Staff, Benny Gantz, who is likely to enter politics at some point.
But Benny Gantz is still within his cooling off period.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of bad blood between Netanyahu and people within his own close circle, there's also bad blood this week in the ongoing spat between Israel and Sweden. Does Israel need more bad blood with European countries?
I don't think Israel needs any more spats with European nations, but I think that the romance with Sweden is definitely not going to get any better soon. And the deputy foreign minister, the current foreign minister is Benjamin Netanyahu himself, said that the Swedish foreign minister is simply not welcomed in Israel. A very, very harsh statement, but it's a comeback to her own difficult statements towards Israel, extrajudicial killings, etc. So again, a back and forth battle. I don't see it ending anytime soon.
Well, to a soccer fan, it brought to mind the World Cup of 1958, where Brazil won over Sweden in the final, 5-2, with Pelé, of course, being the star. And right now, Brazil and Sweden are in the final as Israel's
biggest enemy.
Right.
And Eli, this sounds like a very dramatic statement by Netanyahu to make against the foreign minister of Sweden. Is this likely to cause more trouble for Israel diplomatically? He's in Davos now, trying to make amends.
Yeah, well, it's not Netanyahu; it's the deputy foreign minister, Tzipi Hotovely, which is very, very hawkish, and he had trouble to keep her on the right track for a long while now, with many radical statements such as the Israeli dream is to see the Israeli flag waving atop the Flashpoint Temple Mount. So she's a very contentious figure, and Netanyahu is definitely not managing to control her very well. And we hear yet another problematic statement of her. But I think that for this one, maybe Netanyahu is not. Does not harshly oppose.
But lecturing other governments and preaching to them is not the best diplomatic practice and doesn't get a country too many friends abroad.
Well, Amir, Tzipi Hotovely, as Eli just mentioned, says the Israeli dream is to see the Israeli flag waving over Temple Mount. Is this your dream as an Israeli, Amir Oren?
Well, I nightly dream of Tzipi Hotovely, but I can't share the exact nature of my dreams with you.
Aren't us all?
Eli Hochenberg, last words on the Israeli dream?
On the Israeli dream, I think that, wow, it's a difficult mission. But Bennett's comments towards Netanyahu this week definitely are not only political, but the deadlock in mindset, the lack of initiative, diplomatic initiative, we see the route it is taking, and it is not a good one. We see international uproar about that, and someone needs to wake up in
But
Jerusalem.
Bennett is for the occupation. He is religious and nationalistic, much as Chotoveli is. And most Israelis are either secular or at least want peace with security,
Yes.
even though it means that visiting the holy places will have to be in an agreement with the Palestinians.
Yes. Eli Hochenberg, I like that your dream includes Bennett, even vicariously. Thank you, Eli Hochenberg and Amir Oren, for joining me
Thank you,
tonight. And now to outer space. Pluto may not have been demoted, but now there is a new candidate for a 9th planet, this one in the far reaches of the solar system. ABC News has more.
Here's Planet 9.
It appears the solar system may have 9 planets after all. After some 2 years of research, Caltech astronomers are nearly certain a 9th planet exists. And it's about 10 times the mass of Earth and 2 to 4 times its radius.
We actually think Planet 9 is like a miniature version of Neptune, and we even think we know where it came from.
Doctors Mike Brown and Konstantin Batigan say they have strong theoretical evidence to support their research. Their first clue, a field of debris beyond Neptune and Uranus, essentially icy rocks the size of Los Angeles.
But if you concentrate only on the most distant ones, the biggest orbits out there, they all tend to fan out into the same overall directions. It's as if there's a cosmic one-way sign saying, there's something pulling on us.
They believe that something is Planet 9 and that at some point it was ejected to the outer skirts of the solar system.
It got kicked out by the big bullies, Jupiter and Saturn, but it's still hanging out in the outer fringes of the neighborhood.
But no one has seen this planet, and Caltech wants help finding it. Until then, skeptics say, as far as they're concerned, Planet 9 doesn't exist.
And I have Jonathan Regev in the studio. You know what that means. It's time for sports.
Yes,
Good
it
evening,
is.
Jonathan.
Good evening, Ayman.
How was your day today?
My day today was good because I'm an Israeli tennis fan. And as an Israeli tennis fan, we don't have a lot of good days. This one was Dudi Sela.
He had an even better day than you, I
Yeah,
would
believe
dare
it or
say.
not. How is that possible? Well, it happened very early in the morning since it's in Melbourne, but Dudi Sela made it to the 3rd round of the Australian Open for the 2nd time in a row and 3rd overall. This is his best appearance in Australia. He never made it past the 3rd round. Dudi Sela beat Fernando Verdasco in 4 sets. If you remember, Ayman, 2 days ago we spoke about Fernando Verdasco, who beat Rafael Nadal. Usually what happens after such big wins, these big wins, they take away a lot of physical strength and mental strength. And there's a sort of a letdown, and Dudi Sela was there to take advantage of it. That takes nothing off this great achievement by Dudi Sela. Great game in Melbourne. And what was even more amazing was the fact that there were so many Israeli fans. It's the other side of the world. There were a lot of Israeli fans there cheering for Dudi Sela and helping him to win.
There are fans of tennis in Israel? This is news to me.
Apparently they are. Yeah, there are. It used to be the number 3 sports back in the days when Israel was good at tennis. Maybe now, I don't know. Maybe it's back. But great win for Dudi Sela. We should mention that.
And what's going on with the German league? It's back from a break.
Finally, yes. What a long break. They have a 5-week winter break in the German league. Now it's back. The Bundesliga. Of course, all eyes will be on Bayern Munich, the current champions, and most probably the next champions as well. But we now know that at the end of the season, manager Pep Guardiola will step out. How will the team react? That's interesting to see. They should have a relatively easy run in the Bundesliga. They have a big lead over second place Borussia Dortmund. They should win it. The question is what will happen in the Champions League? How will the fact that they know Guardiola is stepping out, how will that affect? And they have a very, very difficult matchup against Juventus coming up next month. So that's interesting to see. How will Bayern Munich return to the Bundesliga? They already play tomorrow night, Friday night. And then, of course, how will they react in the Champions League?
Safe to say Germans fare better in sports than Israelis?
Nah, really? Yes, they do.
Well, I'm still affected by what you showed us yesterday.
The Cowboys.
Snow Cowboys. And you have a follow-up for us.
Yes, we stay in Colorado with the traditional ice festival. Now, the ice festival, there's an ice challenge. I don't even know how to describe it. Basically, you have to climb on the ice very, very, very high on top of this.
Wow.
and at the end there's a sort of a ladder on the ice, and you have to make it to the top, and only one person was able to do it. His name is Ryan Vachon. He's from an American, a local boy, actually from Colorado. I call him local boy. He's 43, so not much of a boy, but yeah, local man, we should say. And he's the only one there. We see him picking the flag or whatever it is that you have to do at the top. It looks terribly difficult. That's my take on this.
He's the only one who made it. What happened to the others? Do we know? I hope they're okay.
They're okay. Look, you're strapped, so if you fall, they can't. I mean, you basically you're caught in midair. It's all right, but he's the only one who made it all the way to the end. It looks grueling, I have to say. I looked at these images, and it's worse than all those flying people I bring around every once in a while.
Well, Jonathan Regev, always climbing the metaphorical ice wall for us.
Only the metaphorical.
Only the metaphorical one for now. Thank you very much, Jonathan,
Thank you,
for
Ayman.
this. And the news today is done for the week. Join us again on Sunday. Until then, have a good weekend. Good night.